All right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream here. Just getting going. I see a couple people already tuned into the stream, so thanks very much for your patience here. D. Williams is here. Jordan Donovan. Ahmed Trung Nguyen. John Smith. Will Lewis. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back again to the live stream. Just getting going. It looks like we are all set. I want to make sure the audio and everything is synced correctly. But we've got some interesting stuff going on in the currency market right now. And as you guys know here on the stream, what we basically do is we take a look at what's going on in terms of technical analysis primarily. I would also like to, as we get going here, take a look at forexfactory.com, see what's on the radar here in terms of news. Awesome. Cool. And everybody seems like they're getting into the stream now. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I am pulling up forexfactory.com here just to see what's going on. What I like to do, if you don't know Forex Factory, it is a free site and it's super useful. You just type in forexfactory.com and you have under the calendar section, you just click calendar and it'll tell you all the kind of upcoming news events as well as what has already happened. So what's kind of cool here is you can also go to this filter section up in the top right. I like to filter just for the red folders, red basically being the highest impact news that's going to have some sort of effect. And you can see this little green arrow right there. Hopefully you can see that. That's where we are currently at. So the next big news is that at 11, we do have Trump speaking, which will be interesting. I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about, due to speak about Iran in Washington, D.C. So that might cause some volatility, especially with gold, the US dollar, that sort of thing. So something to look out for there. We also have trade balance stuff coming out for the Australian dollar sometime this evening or later in the day. So definitely keep that on your mind. But there also is one that I want to talk about this week, which is a big one. And as you guys know, it happens every month on the first week, which is the non-farm unemployment rate. Now, this is going to most likely move the market quite a bit. I'm expecting this one to be a pretty big one. And that is due to with everything going on fundamentally with Iran and the United States. There's a lot of kind of tension there. So it should be interesting to see what we get towards the latter half of this week with everything going on, fundamentals included. So with that said, that's kind of what we have on the news. The big one, of course, being that non-farm payroll. We do have Aussie news coming out. We have trade balance this evening. We also have retail sales tomorrow. We also have some stuff for GBP. So just use this as a reference. At least that's how I like to look at it, is just kind of, what's on the docket for potential news coming into this week. So with that said, I would like to take a look at some GBP pairs this morning. You can see here our GBPUSD analysis is continuing to kind of hold, which is this idea that we have this kind of downward structure on GBP pairs, right? We came in, we put in a high here, we put in a lower high here, and actually held another lower high currently. Should be interesting to see what we get next here on GBP pairs. Now, the other thing that I want to add to this is that you also have on the bottom side of this, kind of this wedge formation. Right. So looking at GBP USD again on that 4-hour chart, we have this kind of market that's back and forth. What this usually means is that as markets tension up like this, the idea is that buyers and sellers are becoming indecisive, but a pivotal moment will come when you have kind of a breakdown or break up out of this particular kind of wedge. Right. So as prices getting tighter here, the idea is that buyers and sellers are indecisive, and if one explodes either up or down, the idea is that we could see the continuation as the bulls or bears might win that area of support or resistance. Just a basic technical concept there. But again, GBP USD still holding that downward structure that we do see, but we also have this shorter term trend line. However, if we take it to the daily chart, this is also something interesting to me, which is we also have this trend line. So we did, when we were kind of holding this area, right? When we were back and forth in this area, we did in fact make a higher low, right? We shot up, we did put another higher low in there. So if price does decide to break down, that level would be something interesting. At least I would like to see what happens in that area if price does decide to break down. So that's one thing that I'm watching there on the pound dollar. Now on the daily chart, the pound dollar is interesting because you can see we are trading above that 200 period that I often mention. We're trading above the 200 period simple moving average on the daily chart, which is a longer term indicator to me. It's like a long longer term trend indicator. And so we are still trading above that. So in some way or another, my bias there would be bullish at a certain point. But we also have the idea of, we could draw some fibs here and we could talk about the idea of, something like this, right? We already saw this fib play out pretty nicely. Price came down to 38.2, right? Found support and rallied. But it looks like we did put, again, that lower high recently could mean that we might be coming back for a further retracement, maybe down to that 50 or even 61.8%. And the reason I like the 61.8 is take a look at this. The 61.8 lines up very, very nicely with a couple key things. You have this level right here. You have the 200 period, as I mentioned. It's kind of a longer term trend indicator, but you also have this key level here. Okay, so these are zones of interest to me. So if we do start to see a sell side action on GBP, my idea would be that we could be headed back down to this kind of structure looking left. Okay. So good morning to you guys. Thanks very much for showing up to the stream. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thanks very much for being a part of this stream. We do these every Monday through Friday. So if you are new to the stream here, make sure you subscribe down below and turn on notifications by clicking the bell. That way you can come back and see us and do more technical analysis. Again, I do this on a regular basis, both so that I can do my own analysis at a scheduled time. It's part of my routine. It's part of my consistency, and it kind of keeps my discipline up. Just to do this on a regular basis allows me to do my analysis, but it also helps you guys as the viewer. I am a content creator. I run a business, so it's also a perk to you guys. So it's kind of a win-win to kind of just share this and also to kind of get the community flowing and people chatting and sharing ideas in the chat room. It's good for everybody involved. So thanks very much for being here. If you would like to come back, again, tune in to the future streams Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern US time. So hello to everybody here, Steve, Chico, John, Tren, Leonard, Awara. Good to see you guys. Very glad you made it to today's stream. Got about 230 people in here, which is really cool. So I always tell the story of when I first started doing these streams, there was so few people tuning into these streams. I mean, I remember the day we had 50 people tune in was like, I literally, I think I just had such a party that day, or I was just excited, because, that was a big change. So GBP Canadian here, someone pointed out the hourly chart to me, and I wanted to just kind of take a look at it. We are kind of ranging here on GBPCAD, right? Most recently, you can see we kind of have this level of resistance at the top and support at the bottom, right? And so my idea here is it looks like price wants to retest some of this structure high on the hourly chart. So that should be interesting to see if we can get up to that 1.712 level. Again, we'll see if that can make another push there. We are trading nicely this morning bullish. We came down and tagged this area of support, right? Buyers stepped in and pushed price up here. We did have a level of resistance. I was looking for the breakout, but we didn't quite get it there on GBPCAD. So we're still trading the range. We're still seeing the range go back and forth. So we'll see if price can make its way up to that top once more. Awesome. A lot of people talking about gold. We could take a look at gold in a moment here. Definitely. I was just sticking to GBP pairs. While I'm on that, I will get to gold momentarily, guys. Let me take a look at pound Swiss. We'll see what's going on with this pair. Very similar. Do kind of have some structure there. We also have this multiple bottom low. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. Take a look at pound Swiss on the 4-hour chart. This is really interesting. This level down here holding very, very nicely. Right? Lots of buyers stepping in, buyers stepping in, buyers stepping in, buyers stepping in, buyers stepping in. So this area clearly is a level of demand, right? What that means is that buyers are intrigued by this area. Banks, institutions, hedge funds, individual traders, wealthy traders, poor traders, a lot of people are holding, for whatever reason, this level here at that 1.27 level there on pound Swiss. So the idea would be, if you're a bull here, if you're looking for a breakout, one concept could be, you have this downward structure. If price decides to break bullishly, we could see that continuation. That might be one sort of trade setup that you could look into. Again, at the end of the day, make your own trading decisions, but just sharing my own analysis in terms of pound Swiss right now. Again, that's kind of a multiple bottom 1, 2, let's say 3, 4, 5 times this level held very bullishly. So, what it could be doing is people loading up on positions before some sort of push to the upside. Banks and institutions, they don't trade, usually the super short-term charts because their volume that they trade with is quite large. large, right? So if they need to move a tremendous amount of money, millions or billions of dollars in and out of a market, right? They don't do it all at once. They do it in pieces so that the market doesn't move so much, and they can be a little bit more undetected. So, an idea would be, are they holding this area bullish? And if so, maybe we would see that breakout and that continuation play, and we could catch maybe a piece of the move. That would be the idea there in terms of a shorter term trade. So that's pound Swiss. Let's do one more pound pair before we move on to gold. Pound yen, look at how clean this is kind of looking here. Again, holding an area of support very nicely. We've got 1, 2, 3 times where price held these lows right around the 140, 150 level. And so price is bouncing off, price is bouncing off, price is bouncing off. But notice something kind of interesting is sellers are holding here, here, and here. So we have that downward structure. We have that downward push, right, in terms of pound yen. So as we kind of show these lower highs in the market, the question would be, if buyers really have the strength, can they break that pattern and break to the upside? And how could we ride that momentum? Well, my strategy, or at least one approach that you could consider, would be looking for that break of structure, looking for the entry on a rebound or a touchback or a pullback, whatever you would like to call it, right? That is a trade setup that I really like. I trade that quite often myself. And the other way for me that I like is to look for, significant horizontal level breakouts. So for example, right, if you're a short-term trader, maybe an idea is, I would look for a break above structure, like let's say here, right? Maybe looking to buy and make the move, put a normal, level stop and let it see if we can run to a level, maybe something like this, right? That could be an example trade. That's a little bit too much of a reward to risk for me. I like to have a higher win rate in my trades. So, sometimes I'll do something like a 3-to-1, sometimes I'll do a 2-to-1. It kind of depends the setup and what market structure looks like and is telling me, okay? Hi, please make a Telegram group for a discussion about live trading. If you would like a discussion group, that's the whole purpose of one of the services that my company offers. You can check out right above my head here. We have the join the VIP team, TraderNickFX.com. That is a service that I offer. So if you're looking to join kind of a genuine community of traders, you can follow along with what I'm doing in the market, and you can also join our active chat room. I don't offer that for free. I did that in the past, but it was just so full of spammers and it was just kind of junky. So I made it a paid service, and suddenly we have a really great community of traders. So if you're looking for a community of traders, if that's something that would be very beneficial to you or helpful to you, you can check out the VIP team right above at TraderNickFX.com. I've also got some trading software and some different services that my company offers. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so a lot of people are talking about gold. Let's jump into XAU USD. See what's going on with this pair. Ooh, we are pulling back here very nicely on gold. Very, very interesting. If you guys watched recently, I talked about the weekly chart on my most recent gold update video. And watching how this level closes is really going to be interesting. If we close bearish on this weekly chart, my bias would be that we could see some further downside. So for example, if we close like this, right, with that pin bar sort of look, that to me could be an indication that we see some pullback, some further downside there in terms of XAU USD, okay? So when we're talking about gold on the weekly chart, the idea here is that we are at a significant high, right? This is the recent structure high right around here, around that 1550 level that we talked about reaching. We did in fact see that play out. Our analysis there was correct. But the question will be, are we going to turn back at this level, or are we going to break through and continue? Well, right now, my bias is to, or actually my idea here with gold is not to be trading either way yet. My bias here is to watch that weekly chart, as I mentioned in my most recent video about talking about gold. I made it yesterday. So you can check that video out if you want my analysis there, the full analysis at least. I took a look at the weekly chart for good reason, because the idea here is that watching how this candle closes is going to basically sum up what investors and traders are looking at in the last week or so, right? So as we come into this level, are we going to break convincingly above that and show signs of continuation to the upside? Or are we going to close with some weakness? Are we going to close with something, again, like a bearish pin bar or something like that, that shows a lack thereof of strength to the upside, which could mean we maybe head back to a level like 1457. That might be a level just kind of out of the blue that I'm picking out of the hat in terms of, this support level, okay? So that would be what I'm looking for there on gold, is to see how this weekly bar closes and then potentially to make a decision off of that, right? You couldn't convince me necessarily to be super bullish on gold, at least not on the longer term charts, right? The weekly, the monthly, the daily, right? Just because we are trading quite up, right? We are pushing quite to the high side. I guess you could make the argument if you look at, like, for example, the 4-hour chart. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart, you might make the claim that, okay, we've broken above, right, and now we're pulling back, and we could see a continuation from there. There might be a trade there, but again, all this momentum to the upside to me is a bit much. It feels like I'd be chasing if I was to take a buy trade just off of this. So that's kind of my personal opinion, is as we pull back, I want to see how that weekly chart kind of closes. If we close bearish, I think that we could be breaking back down to head back to a level like this. If we close bullish, right, my idea there would be, if we have a resurgence and we close pretty bullish, then there's plenty of room for this thing to continue, maybe pull back a little bit and continue, right? That would be my kind of analysis on gold right now. I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat. Do me a favor, comment in the stream chat if you're watching. On gold, are you bullish or bearish? I'll give you guys a second to kind of answer, and I'll read off kind of the sentiment in the chat room. Are you guys bullish right now or bearish on gold? I sent you an email 3 days ago and you have not replied. I don't reply to those for the most part. I have employees that help me with that. So if you sent a customer support message, you can check that out, or you can try sending it again or something. Hey Nick, is there a way to find what the market has volume for scalping? Volume is a tricky thing in Forex because different brokers have different volume prints. So it's a little bit tough to track exactly what the volume is. What's your long-term view on gold? It's been bullish, so we'll see if that can continue. Hey Nick, tell your opinion about Brent WTI and today's influence on inventory news. I haven't been watching oil too much. Maybe we'll look at it later. What if Trump strikes back to Iran? What if he does? Who knows? Should be interesting to see what happens. It could cause some volatility for sure. So, hello from England. Hi, David. Thanks very much for being here. Cool. Okay, so you guys have kind of give your feedback a little bit. We have some people who are bullish. A couple of people are bearish. And it honestly looks pretty mixed here. I'd say, if I had to say, I'd say people are generally bullish on gold. Cool. Yeah, so people are generally bullish on gold, which I don't disagree with. When I shared my analysis the last several kind of weeks on gold, my idea was that a break above this level was extremely bullish, and you can see in this case it was literally a better call than I even expected it to work out with. And sometimes that happens. Again, I'm not always correct. I definitely make my long list of mistakes in the market as well, just like most people. But we were very correct about this break above on gold. We saw that rally just really continue and rip back to the 1550 level. The area that we were not exactly correct about, at least my analysis was not correct about, was my idea was that we could see some pullback off of that level. We didn't get that at all. We actually broke right through it and continued. And so my analysis was wrong about that. My analysis was correct about the bullish idea longer term here and that break above. So when this market was pulling back, my idea was that a break above could signal a continuation push back to the recent structure highs. And so again, you're right sometimes and you're wrong sometimes. It's not about being right every time. It's about being rewarded well when you're right and not getting destroyed when you're wrong. Trump will speak in 45 minutes. Yep, so definitely going to be interesting. D. Williams says, thank you so much for everything you provide us, Nick. Bless your heart. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Cool to see that we just around hit 350 viewers on the stream. That is really, really cool. I've been really enjoying getting back to the streams here. I've been super, super busy lately. I've been going through the process of looking for more kind of help to do what you guys see. I mentioned that yesterday on stream. I'm looking to hire a couple different people. I'm looking to hire a content editor, looking to hire an assistant, and at some point even hire another person to do market analysis, work with me on the trading side of stuff. So really, really excited about that into the new year. Things have been absolutely crazy. It's always kind of a relief to me when I get some time to get back on the charts, get back to my trading, get back to what I really love, which is in fact the markets, and hanging out with you guys here on YouTube is really, really fun for me. So thanks guys very much for being here, and I appreciate all your interaction and your support. Cool. Okay, so that's kind of gold. Interesting stuff, definitely. That candle is probably a really interesting kind of thing to a lot of people, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people who were short on gold, does anybody know what this would have been called? This would have been called a fake out, okay? Right? What's interesting about fake outs is that it does two things, okay? A fake out traps buyers, and it also really hurts sellers. Let me show you why. Think about people who were short here, here, here. Right? When price rockets up like that, what does it do? It hits all their stop losses, right? So you have a fake out / a stop hunt, right? So when you have gold moving like this, when you have a major, major push to the upside, all of a sudden, really, really fast, then all the people who were short, right? The shorts in this market, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody if this was you, right? I'm not saying that you're stupid for this, but if you had large positions, right, then this was obviously a very, troublesome thing. When the market rallied very, very hard, very, very fast, very quickly to the upside, a lot of people who had stop losses were getting stopped out like crazy, so which causes more people to be buying, right? When you stop out of a short trade, you buy back, you cover your short. So you had a lot of buying pressure due to the people getting stopped out. And you also had a lot of people who were buying the highs, which is called chasing the market. Right? People who are chasing that price as it moves very, very bullishly, right? So you had buyers in here who were convinced, it's going to keep going, it's breaking out, we'll see that major, major push to the upside, right? And so you have what you call a fake out for the buyers, right? Buyers, they're like, oh man, this market faked me out. It went back, it reversed very quickly, so I got faked out. And then for the sellers, you have a stop hunt, right? Because these people were short, their stop losses were up here, and they got tagged just before the market turns back. And that happens all the time. That happens in markets because a lot of times the market gravitates towards where the order flow is, right? So, if there's a bunch of orders up here, the market naturally tends to drift up there. And then when we find a lot of institutional or bigger money pushing back down or selling it off, you can see we did in fact get that big fake out where the market reversed and went right back to where it started the day at, which is, potentially an idea of, well, there's a lot of sellers in this area. So what does that mean? Well, it could mean that we see a pullback here on gold. So reading into the price action, reading into the kind of story that price is telling us may give us some clues of where price may want to go next, right? So the idea that I have there is that we have this big extension, we have a big fake move to the upside that very quickly reversed, right? So that would be called a fake out, or again, a stop hunt. And the idea being that we could see a bigger pullback here to an interesting level like 1550. Right, so we broke bullish above 1550, but the market often likes to retest areas that it's recently been at, right? The market doesn't move all the time in straight lines, right? The market moves back and forth and does all sorts of crazy stuff, right? So as we see this sort of thing where we have a big pin bar or a big kind of fake out candle, what that could mean is that sellers are entering the market heavily, right? people who were short are getting stopped out, which means that they were buying. So you had a lot of people getting stuck in buy positions before big money comes in and stops them out, takes their money and reverses the market. Unfortunately, that sounds mean, and it's because it is, right? The markets are not a nice place. The markets are not a friendly place. It's not a place where everybody just gets to make money for free. Unfortunately, the truth about markets is that if one person is making money, someone else is losing it. And if somebody else is losing money, the other person is making it, right? So to every loser, there's a winner. To every winner, there's a loser. And you have to think about, well, who's on the other side of this trade? Who's trading it in what way? And that's where sometimes people talk about banks and institutions manipulating price or pushing price one way just so that they can take it back, or, things like that. And so you have to be at least open to those ideas. It comes down to whether or not you believe the markets are manipulated. There's good arguments for both sides on that, so definitely something to at least consider. To me, I like to be cautious about the idea, though, that when people say markets are manipulated, and that you can't win because they're just manipulating price all the time. Well, to me, that very well may be the case, but it doesn't give you an excuse not to find a way to still trade profitably, if that makes sense. So if they are trading and manipulating markets, then what does it matter, right? The whole world is to some degree, right, run by different people, and things are happening, and you call it manipulation, or you can call it just people trading the markets in the way that they have found to be profitable. So instead of just saying the market's rigged, it's you can't win, right? My idea is to be careful about that sort of way of speaking, because then it sounds like you're giving up on it, right? And so if it is manipulated, then find ways to trade anyways, right? Come up, be crafty, don't use that as an excuse not to find strategies that work for you, not to trade the markets, right? That's my personal opinion. Again, up to your own discretion on that sort of stuff. But hopefully that makes sense there in terms of this kind of fake out that we did see there on gold. Let's take a look at dollar yen while we're on some dollar pairs, which did skyrocket, right? We saw some really sharp buying here and some really weird movements on dollar yen, right? We saw price find some buyers in this area, but then quickly dipped all the way down here and shot right back up here on the daily chart. You can see this daily chart is a very strange one. You have this long-wicked short body candle that is closing bullish, which is really interesting to watch. It is also hovering right around the 200 period simple moving average, which is kind of an interesting fact, right? We are kind of just barely over the 200 right now. So what do you recommend to do in a fake out position? Good question. So if you find yourself in a fake out, right? If you find yourself in a situation where you thought about the market in one way and you were incorrect about it, my opinion would be my personal approach would be to stop out or find some other way to manage your risk, right? Before you take a trade, right? So you ask, what should you do if you're in that situation? You should already have a plan for that situation. Right? Before you take any trades, before you're involved in the market, people make the mistake of not strategizing, not planning what to do when they enter a trade. And then when they're in a trade and then they're like, well, what do I do now? Well, you should have a plan before you got in the trade, right? So you shouldn't ask, again, and when we're talking about like theory and talking about strategies and ideas to think about, then of course that's no problem. But if you're in a situation where you feel you're in a big problem and you have no plan and you're just kind of guessing, right? My opinion is to not be trading anymore. Take a break, stop for a second, close out those trades, and rethink this before you get back and jump into the markets, right? It's better to trade with a plan and take a loss now, think about it, plan, and come back better rather than just find a way to get yourself out of it before jumping right into the same thing, okay? Cool. Awesome. Dollar Canadian, let's take a look at it. Dollar Canadian, interesting stuff here. We did actually break through a pretty significant level of support on dollar CAD. And you can see we broke just through that level, and it looks like price wants to retest it. depending on what your strategy looks like, depending on how you like to look at the markets, you could make the argument that we could test resistance here. And if you like to trade pullbacks, there might be an idea there to look for, right? If we saw the continuation of dollar Canadian, let's talk about some potential longer term levels, right? You have this level, which is right around the 1.2845, let's say, right? So an idea you could, look into is be like, if you have a pullback here, sell trade, looking for a target there with some sort of reasonable stop loss, right? That would be a potential idea that you could play around with if you are bearish personally on dollar Canadian. Okay, awesome. Do you think hedging is a good solution to get out of a fake out? Depends if you like hedging and if that's a strategy that you're comfortable with. Not everybody likes hedging. I am not a huge person of interest when it comes to hedging myself, but some people like it. And there are, probably ways to do well with it. Whatever you do, though, test it first before you put your money on the line. At least that's my opinion. Cool. Guys, I do want to take a moment here as we start to end the stream, just to wrap up and thank our sponsors. This stream is sponsored by HYCM, which is really cool. They've reached out to me, and I've had a lot of brokers, again, come to me in the past saying, they wanted to represent on my brand and that sort of stuff. And I usually am very, very cautious with who I choose to stick with. But HYCM is a very well-regulated and long-term player in the foreign exchange market. They've been providing trading services, again, since 1977, which is crazy. They are long-term in the markets, and they offer a huge variety of different markets for people to trade. Of course, Forex. They also have stocks, which is really cool. So if you're outside of the US, you could still trade stocks using their services. Microsoft, Apple, Twitter, all the big, name companies. You also have indices, which is cool. You have cryptocurrencies, commodities, all sorts of really awesome stuff. Again, they are very well regulated. There's a link down below they've set up in the description there that's going to help you out if you are interested in checking them out. At the very least, click the link, go check out what's going on in their side. You can click around. Again, they have all sorts of tools. They have different, information about their trading operations and services, right? The really cool thing is, again, that long-term experience. They're very well regulated. They have really, really great customer support. The team that I've worked with to get set up with has been very, very friendly and very helpful. And again, they also offer all the different trading tools like MetaTrader 4, that sort of stuff. And maybe very importantly to you, they have very tight spreads, pretty good, offers there, as well as, again, that customer support, which is a really big deal to me. So definitely check out their link down below, click it around for yourself, see if they offer services in your country. And if you like them, maybe consider opening an account with HYCM. Again, they are sponsoring this stream and have been super helpful in kind of getting the stream off the ground. So thank you guys very much for tuning in today to the stream. I do hope that you got something out of it. Make sure you subscribe down below so that you can come back and do another stream with me in the future. Again, we do these every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We hang out. People are in the chat room sharing ideas and talking about markets and that sort of stuff. So if you like this sort of thing, again, subscribe and also click the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I go live or post a new video. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll catch you back tomorrow.